Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the FRS. We are here with the penultimate round of the season of PC Division 4, sitting here in Imola. It's the second time the FRS has made a visit to the Imola circuit, last time in Season 4, but here is the historic track itself. 4.9 kilometers, around 19 corners for the drivers to navigate, just the one DRS zone down the pit straight. Turn 1 is a little bit of a right-hand kink, not a real turn 1. So when you factor in the run from the pole position to the actual braking zone, it's 605 meters long, 25 meters longer than the previous high that was in Spain. So a huge opportunity to slipstream down into Tamburello. This quick chicane, downshift to about 4th or 5th gear, depending on how the car handles. That is going to be your first overtaking opportunity, and then getting to ready to set up for the long run. Ravazza, the double left-hander, down the hill is your next best overtaking opportunity. It's very much follow the leader around this circuit. And here you have the tires, a soft, medium, hard, as always. The medium's only 0.6 of a second slower per lap. The hard's 1.1 seconds slower, so not a huge pace differential. The hards can go 28 laps of this 32 lap race. The mediums will do 22. The soft's only good for about 11, and the pace drops off relatively quickly on those tires as well. Acqua Minerale, a famous corner, and of course there's Ravazza too, getting yourself ready to go on to the pit straight as drivers are getting ready to head out. But we'll take a look at the championship tables. This division does drop a couple of races, but Space Ghost essentially at this stage has indeed clinched the championship, is unable to be touched even with the dropped races, so he manages to take home top prize with that 163 points. Now we will join the drivers in action now on their out laps, getting ready to start the flying laps. We'll get the track map up. We will wait and see who is furthest around. It looks like one of the Ferraris of Oba Mendez is indeed the furthest car around the circuit. Acqua Minerale, this tricky downhill left-hander, weird braking zone, then up the hill, can catch you out under braking and can catch you out under acceleration as well. The Ferrari still carrying that 75th anniversary livery. Still looking good. Love the look of that Ferrari and the bright yellow letters on the rear wing. Unfortunate that it is not something that has carried on. They could have gotten rid of the yellow engine housing, but that Ferrari on the rear wing, I think, just looks fantastic. So, Oba Mendez spooling up to be the first to start a flying lap. A couple cars coming out of the garage ahead, Renovatio and Ivory Lightning, as well as John Lemon. So they will be slow on the pit exit. Down into turn 1 comes the Ferrari, a little nip and tuck with John Lemon coming out of the pit lane. I think that may have potentially compromised Oba Mendez getting to the actual racing line. So it may be a 10th or so of time lost from that particular impediment. But he's managed to navigate the first sector, and of course we'll have the first purple sector as the first man to cross the kind of the Zhao is a little bit further back as Oba Mendez navigates Tosa, that left-hand hairpin as you work your way up the hill. Now into Piratella, this double left-hander, trying to find the inside. There is a little bit of forgiveness running wide on there. If you do lift a bit, you won't pick up that track limit warning. Now Acqua Minerale, you can see just how squirmy the car gets both under braking and acceleration as you work your way back up the hill and into the chicane. Variante Alta, the tall chicane, the highest point of the circuit as you rise up to it and then get ready to head down the hill into the two Ravazzas. The detection point right about here, that white line they cross, so that's where the DRS will be marked. If you're within a second, you will grab that DRS. And out of the final corner, Ravazza 2 comes Oba Mendez, a relatively short-ish run to the line, and sets the preliminary lap time. We will grab Zhao next across the line, flip that DRS open, right about there, and should improve, does indeed take over that provisional pole. Space Ghost is going to be next across the line, takes provisional pole away. CP2 Wilco is going to cross the line on an 18.9 and go next into P3. Renovatio typically doing the double warm-up laps. That rear light is flashing. They were just on the out lap as well, but so they are going for that kind of double warm-up. So they will put a valid 19.2 in, but they are going for another lap. Ivory Lightning going to be the next car furthest around the lap, as it would appear that John Lemon may have invalidated. They appear to be backing off. Does the Alfa Romeo, that maroon dot, the burgundy, whichever color you want to call it. It's one of the red dots, but it's the darker one. Luckily, there's only 2 red dots, not a whole bunch of blue dots. Today, there's not a whole bunch of blue dots. There's still a few, but no Red Bull is on the grid today. We do have AlphaTauri, Alpine, and then the other slight blue of Mercedes, but no Williams on the grid either today. 2 McLarens, 2 Mercedes. Otherwise, drivers not going to have to worry about teammates in their pit strategy. Ivory Lightning working around the final Ravazza there. Opening up the DRS across the line, goes provisionally into P4. We'll take a look at John Lemon, who has indeed invalidated their lap. Are they going to gear up to go for another run? It looks like they are indeed. So we'll ride on board with the legend himself in the Alfa Romeo. Plenty of battery on board, plenty of fuel still on board. Looks to have gone out with 2 flying laps worth of fuel. So down into Tamburello. Left hand, right hand, then a flat out left-hander. Although as the tires degrade, especially those rear tires, it can get a little sketchy, that final left-hander. Now, Variante Villeneuve, tricky. Most chicanes, you're slow on the entry to the chicane and you're accelerating out of the second part of the chicane. Variante Villeneuve there, opposite. You're actually quicker onto the entry of the chicane, then you have to brake kind of mid-chicane and slow yourself down for the exit. Keeping it nicely within the track limits at Puritella. Does it John Lemon run and into Acqua Minerale, a little bit over the lines, but there seems to be a little bit of forgiveness onto those Italian flag colored curbing. The top of the hill, Variante Alta going to work their way through the final sector, set their first valid lap time of the entire session. Opening up that DRS, crossing the start-finish line, 18-1, so goes provisionally second overall. And I believe Space Ghost next across the line is on a flyer, had finished his outlap as Lemon was starting his, and is a big improvement, going to go to 17-2, so a massive amount of time found. Renovatio doing the second of those warm-up laps there, goes to 17-6, so next improvements there. Kane just about to start a flying lap. Chronicle, though, just about to finish. No, he's invalidated, so we will indeed jump on board with the McLaren of Kane. Off the track goes Wilco to get out of the way of Kane on that flying lap to avoid as much impeding as possible. Ola Mendez as well coming out of the pits at the same time, as Renovatio, Space Ghost, and John Lemon should all be on their way back to the pits after setting their valid lap times. Unsurprising to see a personal best for Kane has yet to set a valid lap, much like Chronicle, who is now in the pits, going through Tosa now, but lots of traffic as Kane is working through. Space Ghost off, and snap of oversteer. Kane gathers it up nicely, so it won't be the quickest lap that he could have possibly turned in, but is going to, at least at this stage, be a valid one. There's a fair bit of time spread here in Division 4, so we will see if Kane is able to put together a good time. Typically a Division R driver, and he's just run a little bit wide on the exit of Variante Alta, and that is going to cost him his lap time. Chronicle, another invalidation, so no lap time to be found. And it looks like we are just now waiting for drivers to start flying laps. I believe Wilco is on a flyer, but slow time so far. Getting warmed up. I think he's just about gearing up to go for another one. Not quite sure why the game is so stuttery through Ravazza around this circuit. Haven't seen too much of that issue at other tracks, but we will do what we must. Wilco is going to be next around the circuit here to set a valid flying lap. Kane is out on another lap, so Kane must have it, but Wilco a little bit too much rear end, losing it. And there he goes off the circuit. Kane going through the first sector. Looks to be on a push. Nope, rear light is flashing, so no push lap for Kane there. So, I believe Zhao is next on a flyer. He's coming out of the final corner. No, he's actually just gearing up for a flying lap, it would appear. Start to see that battery drain down, perhaps. DRS is open as they head their way down into turn one. We'll keep an eye out on the timing sheets. I don't believe Kane is going to set a valid one. I think he just got out of fuel. It's like a small mistake from Wilco in Acqua Minerale there. But Zhao now navigating Villeneuve there. And into Tosa, slow through the first sector, 6/10 off, and he's actually not draining any batteries. So he is not at all on an actual flying lap. Kane is out of fuel and out of battery, so he's got quite a bit of ground to cover to get back. And he's going to have to be careful because he's got Oba Mendez approaching rather rapidly here into the start of their flying lap. And Kane is going to have a long drive at that slow, low fuel speeds. Yellow flag says Space Ghost hops out of the way of Wilco coming through. Chronicle not yet. A valid flying lap, and those yellow flags, local yellows, as Kane is indeed in low fuel mode, and it will follow him around for the rest of the lap through Piratella. Now, can he get out of the way? He's off the racing line quite nicely. And Oba Mendez working through Aqua Minerale just nice. Up through Variante Alta. Seems to be relatively tidy. Not the quickest lap we've seen from Oba Mendez, so might be backing out to try and go for another one. But with 6 minutes left to go in the session, it is still Space Ghost from Renovatio. Oba Mendez. Kane goes into the 17s, so he did indeed push the remainder of his fuel, and you can see that car going quite slowly now. Looks like John Lemon is going to be the next to start a valid flying lap. We'll jump on board with the Alfa Romeo, see if he can find a couple attempts to go into the 17s as well. All drivers in the 17s and 18s, about 1.7 seconds splitting the field from top to bottom right now. Chronicle on an outlap. The only driver so far yet to set a valid lap. Now, with only 9 drivers on the grid today, it is going to be a situation where anybody that finishes is going to score points. So, keeping your nose clean, we may see some more conservative runs. John Lemon a little bit slower than his previous best through Sector 1, but only by 0.06 of a second. There's plenty of time to be found through Piratella here. Didn't quite get it down to the apex curbing, and he's backed out of that one. So, no improvements for John Lemon that time around. We will check in with Wilco, who is indeed on a recharge lap of his own. Space Ghost should be on a hot lap. Does appear, at least according to the game, to go purple through the first sector, although there is a little bit of a bug sometimes with that. We'll keep an eye and see how he navigates through Aqua Minerale. Flicks it right, hard on the brakes. He's got some dirt, so he's that was from his little bit of off-track adventure, letting the cars through as he came out of the pit lane. He's lost a little bit of time in the second sector, and he's fully backed out of that one now. So, no improvements for Space Ghost. John Lemon winding up for another attempt. Chronicle, I believe, has just left the pit lane to go for another one, as Space Ghost going quite slowly to slow down. Crossing the line is one of the Mercedes. That's Renovatio, who is also on a hot lap now. So, we will see. He's got to find about 4/10 to catch up to the provisional pole set there. John Lemon just about to complete the first sector on his lap here. Does not find time. 2 seconds off of his previous best, so I would assume he has backed out of that one. Renovatio now through the first sector split has found 0.008 of a second, just milliseconds the improvement for the Mercedes so far. Headed up the hill towards Piratella. Needs a strong middle sector to start to eat into that gap that Space Ghost had. Lifting into the approach to Aqua Minerale, quick downshifts, using as much of the curving. Space Ghost is out of the session. He had a problem over Variante Alta. I don't see his car. It looks like they may have removed it already, but Space Ghost not going to have an opportunity to improve in this session. Will stay right where he's at. Renovatio, though, working through the final 2 corners, the Ravazzas. Does he find enough time to take provisional pole away from Space Ghost, hugging the right side? He improves, but is still 0.5 behind, so no time found for Renovatio. John Lemon still trying to get that quicker lap in. Looks like he's burning battery. It looks like he is pushing quite well through the first sector. Chronicle seems to be going through it very wide and off the circuit, so John Lemon having trouble hooking one up would appear. Chronicle through the Alta chicane. getting ready to head downhill to Ravazza. Needs to find a little bit of time. Clock is ticking away as Chronicle pitches into Ravazza 1. A little bit of a lift so you can get the car rotated for Ravazza 2. Then as soon as you can get on the throttle, you pick it up, hug the right side to shorten your run, and 18.0 goes just ahead of John Lemon, and that is going to put him provisionally P5. So he finally sets a valid lap time. Ivory going to be winding up for a lap of his own. We'll stay on board with Mr. Ivory Lightning. Renovatio coming around the final corner. We will see, is he going to be able to take that pole position away in the final runs, or is he going to dive into the pit lane? Renovatio is into the pit lanes, as is Oba Mendez. So 2 drivers into the pits. John Lemon into the pits as well. You just have to wait. It looks like a couple drivers are getting wound up to go. Improvements for Ivory Lightning through the first sector there. 4/10 he's found. That would put him provisionally up around where Zhao is, although still 2 more sectors to try and find some time in for the Mercedes driver. Double points finish for Mercedes would be pretty big in the team's championship. It's races like these where if you can get your drivers to turn up, it definitely helps in the overall team's championship that spans all of the divisions up and down the FRS, as McLaren has just about got that one. And an invalidation for Ivory over the top of the hill. So that is not going to help him out. Chronicle on the way into the pit lane. We will see who is on a flying lap. It looks like Wilco may be on one. He is indeed. He's found 3/10 through the first sector. We'll jump on board as he works his way down to Aqua Minerale. Little lift on the approach. In higher divisions, you'll see drivers take that first right-hander flat out and then really get the car squared up, brake hard for the second. Of course, the time for the top division's pole positions gets down nearly to the 1:14. So there's quite a bit of a pace differential once you start to get to those near esports level. And speaking of near esports level, the PC Division 1 Championship, I believe, has been once again continued on to the final race to a championship decider. Silver Arrow taking his 3rd win on the trot, as Fraser finished in 3rd, I believe, and that was not enough points to secure the championship for Fraser. Wilco improves to a 18.1, so he's nearly caught up to John Lemon, but not a time improvement, not a positional improvement. Invalidation for Zhao. That's going to cause him to dive into the pit lane. Does Ivory continue on? He's got a rear light flashing, though he does appear to be on a push lap. Only 26 seconds left, so not enough time to come in and do any kind of change. I don't know that Renovatio is actually going to get to the line. He's just started an outlap. I don't believe he's going to have enough time to get around and start a flying lap. Ivory Lightning will likely be the last one. No, Ivory's into the pit lane. Wilco has lost a little bit of time through the first 2 sectors, and I do believe that he is out of battery, so he should be backing out of this lap. Yeah, indeed. And so that will be your qualifying order. Nobody able to take over Space Ghost's provisional pole time. At 17.2, Renovatio got it close to another 17.2, but was unable to take away. Zhao on a 17.3 and P3. Oba Mendez 4th. Kane in 5th. Chronicle in 6th. John Lemon 7th. Wilco in 8th. And Ivory Lightning in 9th. Nearly a Mercedes sandwich here in this Division 4 qualifying. So all to do still in the race. We've seen some weather, some changeable weather across the divisions. PC Division 1 had a damp race. Xbox that I took part in had a wet to enter qualifying and then a dry race. So we will wait and see what the actual weather ends up being once we get the lights out and away we go type deal. But Space Ghost, Renovatio on the front row. Zhao and Oba Mendez row 2. Kane into row 3 alongside Chronicle. John Lemon and Wilco in row 4. Ivory Lightning rounds out the order in P9. Though it does give him an opportunity to choose an alternative strategy and maybe go for an interesting choice. Because in that wet to enter qualifying, at least I can speak for myself, I went out for my final runs on the inters just a little bit early and the track was continually drying, so I had to start last because I was essentially the first driver to set the final flying lap. But that meant I was able to start on an alternative compound, go onto the hards, be just tentative into turn 1, not do anything aggressive, and start working my way through the field for an eventual P6 finish. As well, you really can't catch some of the fastest drivers in Xbox Div 1. They are just too darn fast. Now with Div 1, we will have to do a little bit of math. This is, of course, points before today's results were in, because obviously I made all this stuff before the race weekend started. I can't make it after it starts. It looks like drivers actually waiting to ready up. Good job, my crew. Just waiting to see when that countdown timer just happens to start. There it goes. Countdown timer is indeed on its way, and we will join up with the game. Make sure to silence our favorite friend, Mr. Croft, for this broadcast formation lap. As we wait for that timer to hit 0. The sun is shining, though, here in Imola, so we will see just what we are able to accomplish. It doesn't mean it'll stay dry the rest of the way, and we will see what tires people have opted for. I can already see red stripe tires on the Mercedes at the front. Renovatio again starting on the softs. Oba Mendez and Zhao, the only drivers on the hard compound tires. Everybody else on the medium. The ideal strategy, likely a medium to hard around here, but we could go soft to hard. The hards will do a considerable race distance here. But we will see what Renovatio is able to do off the line. Needs to make hay while the sun is shining on those soft compound tires. We'll get the game audio back up as the drivers do their burnouts and pull into their grid slots, and we get ready to start this race here. 9 cars on the grid here in PC Division 4, getting ready to wrap up our Saturday running. Space Ghost on pole position, has the outside as the 4-5 red lights come on. It's a pretty short hold, a good release for Renovatio. Space Ghost, big wheel spin off the start there. That's going to cost him some ground. It looks like Kane has had a mistake as well. John Lemon, some serious wheel spin. Drivers not getting off the line quite as they'd expect. Renovatio in the lead. Oba Mendez second. Space Ghost shuffled to fourth. Wilco around the outside of Zhao goes into fifth. Though Chronicle sneaks up the inside. Ivory Lightning and Kane dicing for P7 and P8. John Lemon off the back. Kane now up into sixth, side by side with Wilco. And it is going to be Kane up into P6. So a good release up near the front, though. Chronicle getting a decent run on Space Ghost. Can he get alongside before they hit Piratella? Or is Space Ghost going to burn all the battery that he needs in order to stay ahead of this pack? But Renovatio has gotten a fairly clean release on those soft tires. Wilco starting to close up onto the back of Kane. Ivory Lightning running wide through Piratella in the back of shot there. John Lemon just kind of closing back up, is going to get back up to speed. But so far, Oba Mendez on those hard tires has had a pretty great start. Up 2 positions. Zhao down 2 positions. Very wide is Wilco through Variante Alta. And Renovatio's got 1.7 seconds out in the lead. Space Ghost starting to turn the wick back up. Needs to make those medium tires work and get past Oba Mendez while he's got that tire advantage. Zhao still hanging on to the back of Chronicles. Chronicles just about falling out of what would be DRS range. It won't get activated until 2 laps from now, because it will be activated at the start of lap 3, but the detection point is at the very end. So it won't be till the run down the pit straight on lap 4 that we will see our first opportunities for that rear wing to split open. Space Ghost having a very good run through Tamburello. A little wide, it looks like, is Oba Mendez through Villeneuve, and that is going to give Space Ghost a little bit of an opportunity, but nowhere to go, so he's just got to kind of slot in and hold station. Renovatio really pushing hard on those soft tires, needs to build a massive gap in order to try and pit into and then start working his way back through the field. But the entire grid essentially in one big DRS train once you take out Renovatio. Oba Mendez down. Zhao just about falling off the back. And Oba Mendez has had a mistake through Aqua Minerale. Chronicle now is looking to pressure the Ferrari as Space Ghost has already gone through Chronicle dips back into the train. Kane is starting to work up towards Zhao. Zhao, of course, on those hard compound tires. He's going to have to survive a few laps with this group, and then we'll start to have that crossover point. But Space Ghost nearly opening that 1 second margin to Oba Mendez now, and there it goes. We will see as the leader crosses the line, sets a new fastest lap of the race, goes into the 20s already. DRS will be enabled at this next lap. So the detection point just into Ravazza 1. And we should see some opportunities for some overtaking coming up relatively soon, especially this battle here, Kane and Zhao, as it continues. Kane will have DRS next time by if he can stay within that 0.3 of a second. Fairly long straight, a big DRS zone. It's really the only major overtaking opportunity around this circuit. But you can be a good 4 or 5 tenths back, and if you've got DRS and burn some battery, you can make that gap up to the group. Oba Mendez has lost the DRS. Chronicle dipping out of the slipstream has got Oba Mendez now down into Piratella, leaving space on the outside. It looks like Chronicle has got that job done. Now has just about half a lap to run away. Ooh, Wilco is around through Piratella. It looks like he's spun off, has indeed hit that inside wall. That's going to be a virtual safety car for that amount of debris. So VSC called. He was stopped for a bit of time, but is back to going once again. And this is our first interruption in lap time. It is possible, technically possible, for Renovatio to slap on hard tires and go to the end of the race at this stage. Does he, though? He stays out. Those soft tires will start to lose some performance. And now it's just going to be all about being careful with that delta time. Do not overstep it. You want to make sure to stay nice and careful with it. We will see. Wilco started on the mediums, is in position to put on hards and go to the end of the race. Likely will need a full safety car at some point to catch back up to the pack because of the time he's losing with the missing front wing. Virtual safety car still able to... Oh! Chronicle was too quick on the restart, and it looks like he is going to have to serve a drive-through. He did make up quite a bit of ground on Space Ghost, so I would assume that's why he got caught out by that VSC. He was nearly 2 seconds behind Space Ghost when he made that overtake on Oba Mendez. Now is only 8 tenths back, so I would guess that he was indeed too quick on that VSC restart. But Renovatio holding that 2.7 second margin. Now, of course, with a VSC and not a full safety car, the DRS does not get disabled, or it doesn't have to wait those 3 laps to go once again. So it is indeed going to be Kane with an opportunity on Oba Mendez here down the pit straight next time by. Chronicle, we will see if he opts to serve this this drive-through now or takes the 3 laps that he is indeed permitted before he comes in to serve that drive-through. We'll keep an eye on the timing tower to see if we see that pit come up. Indeed, it looks like he is coming in, but he does not get it slowed down for the timing line. Insult to injury, unfortunately. And that is going to be another stop that when he makes his mandatory stop in this race, he's going to have to come in. But Kane closing up with the DRS in the slipstream. Does he look to the inside? Space left by Oba Mendez around the outside to make sure, just in case Kane put that nose in there, but no move made just yet. Kane with a very good release off of Tamburello into Variante Villeneuve now, just behind Oba Mendez, but it is all even Stevens as it is. And now Chronicle comes out in 8th place. Of course, drivers encouraged to stay out in this one because there is no, I mean, if you finish the race, you will get points. Big snap of oversteer from Kane as he came through Piratella, nearly lost the car. Lucky to gather it back up, loses a couple of tenths to Ivory Lightning behind, who is starting to put in some serious pace and is closed up to this gap. Zhao just about holding on with those hard tires, but not quite getting the performance he needs. John Lemon up into 7th now, as it looks like it is going to be Kane who is under pressure. Wilco has another spin through Tamburello this time. It looks like he has indeed stayed with that front wing comfortably attached. So we will indeed relax and just do it. Oba Mendez closing up on Kane, not able to make the move. A little bit wide, though. That's going to put Ivory Lightning in a position to attack the Ferrari. It looks like, though, he's just not quite got the run out of Tamburello. Maybe had to check up a little bit from the car ahead. Oba Mendez seeming to struggle with the wide line through Varianti Villeneuve there. And he's starting to lose a little bit of ground. Kane, though, wide on the exit of Tosa, and that is going to cost him a little bit of time. Wilco with 3-second time penalty for those multiple warnings. A little look to the inside from Ivory. He's still got those medium tires, and it looks like Kane now starting to run away from Oba Mendez. Oba Mendez, big mistake through Aqua Minerale. That's going to open up Ivory Lightning free to shoot the gap. And now is Zhao going to have a go at it as this train continues to stay formed? Zhao on those hard tires getting what he needs to close up to this group, as John Lemon is also quite well involved. So Kane doing an excellent work keeping the car under control, having some moments, but managing to actually even extend the gap from the following pack now. Oba Mendez just hangs on to the DRS from Ivory Lightning. No, he doesn't. That rear wing is not opened. It looks like he just about lost it. Zhao around the outside of Oba Mendez. Quite an easy move there. We will keep an eye and see, is John Lemon going to be able to close the gap up enough? He doesn't appear to, but he is still within that DRS. Renovatio out comfortably in the lead. We are getting kind of close to that pit window for the soft compound tires. So expect Renovatio to be in relatively soon. Oba Mendez a little wide through the second chicane. Manages to hold ground in Tosa. Zhao closing up to Ivory Lightning. So not only are the softs starting to fall off, it appears that the hards are starting to kind of come into their own compared to the medium tires as well, as the field is starting to spread out just a little bit. The front now, though, the gap down to 1.8 seconds as Space Ghost on those medium tires really eating into the gap of the hard or the soft compounds of Renovatio. Another mistake through Aqua Minerale for Oba Mendez. That is going to put John Lemon in the attacking position. Ooh, a snap of oversteer from John Lemon, though, on throttle. That is going to cost him big. That's cost him nearly 0.6 of a second after he gathers it up. So unlike Kane, who's had those little wobbles but lost very little time, John Lemon loses the entire DRS because of it. Closest battle on track is here between Ivory Lightning and Zhao. That rear wing flipping open on the AlphaTauri. Not burning any battery down this front straight. He is going to close up a couple of tenths, but it is not going to be enough to put him in any kind of position to overtake. Space Ghost now nearly inside the 1 second margin. So Renovatio needs to get off of those soft tires. Otherwise, I think at this rate, Space Ghost will indeed catch Renovatio on the next lap. He can see him so easily now. A little bit better release off of Tosa for Renovatio. Gets a couple of tenths back on Space Ghost. But those soft tires really going to be screaming in pain at this point. About 11 laps is their full lifespan, and that's talking getting into puncture danger territory. As far as pace goes, they lose most of their pace after about 6 laps, and we are 8 laps into this race. There was that 1 lap worth of VSC timing, but you can see just how much more confident that Space Ghost is working through these corners. Zhao just hanging on to the back of Ivory Lightning in the DRS, and Space Ghost is going to get inside a second at the detection point. Space Ghost has gotten that margin. You will see that rear wing flip open. Into the pit lane goes Renovatio. Now Space Ghost has the opportunity to push hard and go for the long overcut. John Lemon now looks to have closed up to the gap of Oba Mendez there. See that rear wing pop, flip right open. As Renovatio is going to cycle towards the back of the field. Should come out well ahead of Chronicle and Wilco with how it is going. John Lemon just losing that DRS. Not quite a good run through Tamburello there for the Alfa Romeo drivers. Space Ghost now into the lead of this race. Renovatio 27 seconds off the lead. So a considerable amount of time lost making that pit stop. He was just about a couple of tenths ahead of Space Ghost as he went into the pit. So it seems to be a much longer than expected pit loss. Also depends on how Renovatio handled pit entry and pit exit. Chronicle and Wilco, the only ones with track limits penalties so far. Renovatio, the fastest man, unsurprisingly, with the fastest lap because of those soft compound tires. John Lemon, though, closing back up to Oba Mendez. It's going to be tough between these medium and hard tires at this stage. Pit window for the mediums will open up at about lap 14. You can go a little bit early. I mean, the hards will essentially go to the end from where we are, but as far as ideal pit windows, we are just a couple of laps from it. John Lemon nearly had a look down inside Ravazza 1 there, opts not to go for the move and slotting back in, loses a couple of tenths, but now has some serious straight line pace. And a wobble from Oba Mendez as he was trying to just kind of stay off the racing line and let John Lemon through. Did he make contact with the wall? Was there any kind of mistake that has caused any damage to the car? It seems to be okay, but that was a bit of a moment for the Ferrari driver, and he is not going to go away, though. I think he knew he didn't have the straight line speed he needed, but look, he is all over the gearbox of John Lemon and is staying quite close. Zhao on the hards as well, getting close to the back of Ivory Lightning. So I think we've definitely seen the hards start to become the quicker tire compared to these degraded mediums. And those drivers that are on the hards will continue kind of at this pace until they have to pit. 10 laps into this 32-lap race, only a virtual safety car, the only interruption. No retirements so far in this one, as Space Ghost maintains the lead of this race. We'll check the gap to the leader, still hovering right at about that 27-second mark. So Renovatio on the new tires. Let me get the right tire. There it is. On the hard tires, not really making any inroads into Space Ghost just yet. Space Ghost showing some very good pace out in the front of this one. It's a McLaren 1-2, though Kane is indeed a reserve driver, so he won't be scoring points for McLaren, the Div R driver. But a good result from the Div R driver, and what I believe is his season debut in a primary division. I don't believe I've seen him on the track just yet. In Div R, or Div 4. I've definitely seen him a few times in Div R. But it looks about 8-9 tenths the gaps between our closest battle. Actually, Oba Mendez much slower, or much quicker than John Lemon through the first couple of chicanes. Tosa, though, John Lemon seems to get the exit out of Tosa quite nicely and start to extend a little bit of a gap. Needs to find about half a tenth before the end of this this lap, and John Lemon can try and break that DRS gap to the to Oba Mendez. I don't know, I almost said to the leaders, but he's definitely not to the leaders. But points for everybody involved at this stage. John Lemon, or Renovatio, starting to eke into the margin to Oba Mendez, but still 27.1, 27.0 the gap to Space Ghost out in the lead. So no real overcut or undercut underway at this stage. Of course, Renovatio took those soft tires early, took the lead in the turn one, and opened up a good gap, but maybe stayed on the softs just a little long. Oba Mendez in the slipstream of John Lemon has that DRS and now has a very good run as they head down towards Tamburello. Has the nose ahead on the inside, gets back to the racing line. Under braking is deep, though. That might give John Lemon a chance to re-attack into the next chicane. It seems to have just steadied off between the two, though. Yellow flags, and that is Kane off the circuit. He's spun through the Villeneuve chicane. No damage. So it looks like we'll be quite all right, that we will not have an interruption in the racing. But that is a tough one for Kane, who was driving so well. I think I may have commentators cursed him by, talking about how well he was driving, and then all of a sudden, mistakes. John Lemon still pushing on those medium tires. Lap 12 is probably about the earliest you would see somebody on the medium tires come in. Lap 14 is what the game classes as the ideal pit lap. It seems overcut versus undercut relatively even across the board. Renovatio now just taking a couple of tenths out of the leader, Space Ghost, but still, after pitting, came out 27.2 behind. Now the gap 26.7 to Space Ghost, and there's not a whole lot going on. Ivory is into the pit lane and is safely into the pit lane, has not picked up any kind of speeding penalty, so he will drop back from the lead. Should come out somewhere around his teammate. He's moving once again. We will see where he comes. It is a long exit to this pit lane. You can see still has no garages on the right, but still trundling at pit lane speed until now he's hit the line and can accelerate. So it's a huge time loss in this pit lane, a big time loss. So that is, we're estimating close to 27 seconds, honestly. Because Renovatio was about a second, just under a second ahead of Space Ghost when he made his pit stop and came out 27 seconds back. So big pit loss time here. John Lemon still hanging on to that DRS zone of Oba Mendez. Now is essentially fighting for third. However, no pit stops have been made. Space goes back into his starting position of P1 with the pitting of Renovatio, who is showing us 4 positions down, but has already made his stop, as has Ivory Lightning. Close to the gearbox of Oba Mendez's John Lemon seems to get a very good run down the hill into Ravazza 1, but doesn't quite have the brakes. Wilco is out of the session, so we have gotten a retirement, and that is a full safety car, and that is not what Renovatio wanted to see. It is once again exactly what Space Ghost needs. We'll see if we can see where he just kind of looks to have spun and into the barriers and just got a quick glimpse, but once again, for another race, Space Ghost gets the safety car when he needs it. I would expect everybody that is out to come in, make a stop. Kane is in for a set of fresh tires. Or no, Chronicle is in, as is Kane, for a set of fresh tires. It is a margin that the mediums can get to the end of the race from here. We've got 18 laps left to go. It's just a matter of how much you trust them to maintain the pace. Renovatio should have fresh mediums. He started on the soft compound tire today. Started on soft, so he should still have that set of mediums to go on to. But into the pit lane comes Mr. Ghost. Mediums off, hard compound tires go on. And away he goes. Zhao into the pit lane as well. He will get off those hards and go on to mediums. They will get to the end of the race, as does Oba Mendez. John Lemon is in for a free pits, or a cheap pit stop. Renovatio, does he stay out? It appears that Renovatio has indeed stayed out. 6 laps in on those hard tires. They will get to the end, so he's gone for the same tire compound as the leader, Space Ghost. Showed good pace, but how much of it was those soft compound tires? So an interesting choice from Renovatio there. Otherwise, John Lemon's in with his hard tires. Oba Mendez in with medium tires, so a tire differential to the end of the race between those two as well. And we should be back to racing fairly quickly. Space Ghost showed very good pace on those older medium tires, was able to keep the gap steady to Renovatio, and did indeed have the free pit stop to the former race leader. But now, it's all kind of sorted itself out. The top 3 positions as they were: Ivory Lightning, the biggest gainer of the race, up 5 positions. John Lemon up 2 for himself. Oba Mendez, Kane, and Chronicle have dropped 2 positions. He's Wilco. The retirement that brought out this particular safety car. It's our second interruption to Green Flag Racing so far today. There was a virtual safety car earlier on in the race on lap 4, I believe it was. I don't exactly remember the number, but that was from Wilco having a spin out of the Villeneuve chicane with a busted, or no, out of, Piratella is where he lost the car, and had a broken front wing. So just waiting for Chronicle to get back onto the back of the pack. He did indeed serve that 5-second speeding in the pit lane penalty, which was unfortunate because he picked up a drive-through from speeding under VSC. He did make over a second on the cars around him, so I don't believe that was a game bug, speeding under VSC. I think he may have just gone a little early. But in the process of serving that drive-through, picked up a 5-second speeding in the pit lane penalty. However, that is served with that pit stop, and now he will reattach to the rear of the train on similar tires to those around him, and with an opportunity to get back into this race. Chronicle just about attaching himself to the tail of the snake here, and there you see the Aston Martin coming into frame just about. We should be back to Green Flag Racing on this lap, I would expect. So we'll see if we get the message of the safety car coming in this lap. Usually does it right around the Sector 2 split. There it is. And we will jump on board as Space Ghost slows the pack down. And we get ready for that safety car to head on into the pit lane. The medium tire runners will have an opportunity to get the temperature in compared to the hard compound runners. So Space Ghost still has not yet gone. Still going slowly, holding about 60 miles an hour. And there he goes. Full throttle is away, and he's caught a good restart. Renovatio a little bit napping. Ivory has gotten a very good run on the restart there. He's going to pull alongside Zhao. Does he have the legs? He's actually going to get kind of boxed in by his teammate. Around the outside goes Ivory, switches to the inside. There's some damage. There's some carbon fiber jumping across the road there. I believe that's damage to Oba Mendez in the Ferrari. John Lemon up into 5th. And around the outside goes Ivory Lightning and takes that position away from Zhao. So he is up into the podium positions. 2 Mercedes in the top 3. John Lemon in 5th. Zhao in 4th. And I believe there may have been an incident towards the back. We will check and see on the other cars. Although Zhao not done, not leaving that position as completely taken. Ivory Lightning does need to get on his horse a little bit. Otherwise, he's going to lose touch with the lead pack. As Chronicle is dropping back behind Oba Mendez, and it is Chronicle who is missing that front wing. So, looked like maybe a misjudgment down in turn 1. Didn't really get to see the actual incident, just saw the aftermath, and Chronicle, after getting caught back up to the pack, is now going to have to box once again and will be well off. He looks to have some significant damage to that car, but we would expect Kane to sneak his way past or even just patiently wait for Chronicle to pull into the pit lane. But Ivory Lightning and Zhao, your closest battle on track. Space Ghost has opened up 1 second. Apologies. John Lemon just clinging to this battle so far. Top 5 finish would be a solid one for John Lemon here. 2 Mercedes in the podium positions as it stands. Renovatio getting back into that DRS range of Space Ghost out in front. The 2 tire differentials. It's going to be tight. 6 laps is not a huge amount of wear on the hard tires, though. It would be relatively negligible by the end of this race. Maybe worth a 10th or so between the 2 of them. But it is all about these battles between medium and hard tire runners. Zhao needs to try and make the move when he can. Has the better tire for the moment. Seems to have the better pace overall, but just can't quite find a way past Ivory Lightning ahead, and they will continue to fight as we head into Variante Alta. There is a yellow flags. That is a local yellow for Oba Mendez, who looks to have had a tough run through Aqua Minerale, although it looks like he's just about held Kane off this time by. So I believe DRS will be enabled next lap. And we will see some rear wings opening up the following time down the pit straight. Crossing the start-finish line, Space Ghost sets fastest lap of the race and has really increased his pace compared to Renovatio. DRS is indeed enabled this next lap. We'll grab Zhao, who may be trying to make the move without the assistance of DRS. John Lemon still right there with the battle. Not quite in an attacking position, but hanging on. And it looks like Ivory a little better through Tamburello that time. And it appears to be just about even Stevens between this pack fighting for the final podium place. John Lemon close. Just a small mistake could make all the difference. We're on lap 19 of 32, so we are getting down to the nitty-gritty. 14 laps left to go in this race. And we have a very tight battle for the last podium spot so far. Yes, you can indeed see the tires. Space Ghost, 6 lap younger tires than Renovatio out front. Ivory Lightning on 6 lap old hards. Zhao has the medium tires. John Lemon on hards the same age as does Oba Mendez Kane. So it's kind of a checkerboard of hards and mediums out there. Essentially, the mediums will start to drop off a little bit. But not a huge amount, nor will the hard tires won't drop off very much either. But Ivory Lightning from A last place starting position, though, this time with the DRS, should be quite an elementary move for the AlphaTauri. Zhao goes up the inside, takes the race position away. Ivory dipping back into the slipstream, maybe attempting to go for a try again type move, but not quite going to get the job done. And now Zhao needs to try and break some distance here with those medium tires, maybe get himself attached to the back of Renovatio, which it looks like he does. And I think Renovatio staying out may have been the wrong call. It gave him track position, moved him up into second, but is on some significantly older, now hard tires. And the tire differential that Ivory Lightning had with Zhao is going to have an even bigger one with Renovatio now. So through Aqua Minerale, a little wide is Renovatio. Covers the line. Zhao, looking to carry the momentum, has to kind of back out of it. Defensive goes Renovatio into Variante Alta, and that is going to actually allow Ivory Lightning to get involved in this fight. He's got kind of squeezed off track because of it, and that's allowed John Lemon to close back up into this fight. So now we've got a four-way fight for 2 podium positions. Zhao up the inside of Renovatio. He's got the move done, and I think he may have had the nose ahead, though, at the DRS detection point. A wiggle from Ivory Lightning out of the corner. Keeps it under wraps, though, but we are tight through this mid-pack, and indeed, Zhao did not get the DRS, but look at the pace he's got streaking away. Renovatio losing position to his teammate. Ivory Lightning, is John Lemon going to follow him through? Not quite going to stick his nose up in there, and now Ivory Lightning, with the slightly fresher hard tires, is really starting to put the screws to Renovatio. 5 seconds the margin as Space Ghost out in front, so taking control of this race by a wide margin. Zhao, even with the medium tires, not eating into that gap. But this train still all attached. All it needs is one more overtaking attempt at Variante Alta, and you can see the field bunch right back up again. Oba Mendes 2.5 seconds off, and of course, all it also takes a little wiggle through Aqua Minerale. It looks like, indeed, about 0.2 of a second found Ivory Lightning. And John Lemon right past Renovatio there. A streaking John Lemon. Not that kind of streaking, but quickly it appears that Renovatio made a mistake through Aqua Minerale. John Lemon, though, going to be under pressure because he's not quite in the DRS range of Ivory Lightning anymore. So another position for John Lemon. Has to find about 0.4 of a second to get in the DRS to catch up to Ivory Lightning. Ivory Lightning, of course, with the DRS on Zhao ahead. 0.6 the gap as that rear wing flips open. And it looks like Zhao might just have a quicker straight line speed build. He is built different today. 0.6 the gap as they entered the straight. About 0.5 as they hit the brakes. So Zhao really quick in a straight line. And that has cost John Lemon some time. He's managed to stay ahead of Renovatio, who is now outside of DRS. Renovatio may find himself all the way down in a little bit of trouble with Oba Mendes, who is catching up to Renovatio. Is there damage? Is there a problem? Did Renovatio have contact in that scrum at Variante Alta? Because he is well off the pace of the cars around him now after being right about there with the front-running pace of Space Ghost. All of a sudden, the hard tires wouldn't fall off. There wouldn't be degradation problems. But there seems to be pace problems in that Mercedes here, now just barely clinging to a top 5. However, Oba Mendes carrying that 3-second time penalty. And look at that, very wide is Renovatio, so just isn't quite putting it together. John Lemon is falling off the back of this train. Now the gap 1.9 seconds. He's got to try and find some significant time in order to get involved with the podium's positions. P4 is still a very good result for the Lemon if he can make it happen. And Zhao has just forced Ivory Lightning to burn all the battery that he's got. And you can see just not quite getting anywhere close to overtaking range. Oba Mendes with the DRS on Renovatio. Up the inside into Tamburello. Deep goes Renovatio, and through goes Oba Mendes. So the pressure was on, and mistakes were made by Renovatio. Around the outside he goes. And Oba Mendes moves himself up into the top 5. From P2 to P6 in a span of about 7 laps. That's a tough day for Renovatio. And he's already 2 seconds off the back of Oba Mendes. So it's looking like with 10 laps left to go in this, or 9 laps rather, the hopes of staying within that 3-second margin may actually be a pretty tall ask for Renovatio unless he can find some time out towards the front. Ivory Lightning's had a mistake through Aqua Minerale there. John Lemon has caught up just a little bit. It's about 1 second the margin, although a mistake from Zhao through Alta, and that is going to be another opportunity for Ivory Lightning to get into that DRS range. Chronicle on a set of soft tires sets the fastest lap of the race, a 19.203. As you know, the fastest lap point still worth something here, even if he's where he is, well off the actual contention for positional overtakes. He can still score an extra point with that fastest lap because everybody that finishes will score points in this race. Ivory on that straight line, able to close up a little bit, but not anywhere close enough to make any kind of attacking maneuver. Space Ghost now 4.6 seconds ahead of Zhao. This battle not really costing Zhao any time. He's starting to eke into the lead gap, but I think Space Ghost may have just opened up a little bit too much of a margin for Zhao to really close it up, especially since Zhao is on the medium compound tire, and it will take him some time. That tire will start to fall off a bit. I don't know that it'll fall off enough to counter the 2-lap advantage, fresher tires that he has compared to Ivory. I think they'll be about even those tires the rest of the way through this race. And John Lemon still about 2 seconds off the podium places now, 3.2 ahead of Oba Mendez. And Renovatio, most importantly, out of the 3-second time penalty to Oba Mendez, and now under pressure from Kane. So something has gone wrong for Renovatio in this race. The pace is gone, and he has had enough. He is into the pit lane. He is going to come in, get rid of those tires. He's about to be overtaken by Kane. I think it's the smart maneuver. Will maintain P7 on track compared to the drivers around him. He's not going to be able to really catch up to Kane at this point, but he will be able to steal that fastest lap point back. But a tough day for Renovatio, and I think it all came down to staying out under that safety car, trying to go to the end on those hards. And he just didn't have the pace after the restart. Everything just kind of fell apart for Renovatio. But he's got a set of soft tires on now. He's going to come out of the pit lane 26 seconds off of Kane. You can see, just about 27 seconds of time loss in this long pit lane. One of the longest times, so up there nearly with Silverstone's pit loss time, surprisingly. So, big time loss there. And, well, it looks like we may be just about steady for the rest of this race. 4 seconds, 4.1 is the margin from Zhao to Space Ghost now. So still a little bit of time to be clawed back. 7 laps left to go in this race, counting lap 26, which we are on having just started. Ivory Lightning just hanging on to that DRS. John Lemon falling to about 2.7 back, so it's looking like it's going to be a tough ask for John Lemon. It'll take a mistake for John Lemon really to get into podium contention, I think, from one of these top 3 drivers. Space Ghost has very little pressure on him out in the front. 4.4 the margin. Zhao and Ivory are pretty even. Kane picking up a 3-second time penalty for his multiple warnings. So now Renovatio only needs to make up 23 seconds in these laps. Renovatio just starting his first flying lap. Let's jump on board with the man on the fresh-clad soft tires. As I would expect, this is probably the perfect opportunity for him to go for that fastest lap point. He seems to be recharging the battery, not using any of the deployment. We will see where he finds time, and that's time penalty for Ivory Lightning. Current best lap is a 19.203. Renovatio needs to find about 1.2 seconds to make that up. So we will see how he does. We brought up the lap timer. So Ivory Lightning now, with that mistake, John Lemon needs to get inside that 3-second margin. He does have an opportunity to get on the podium now. So John Lemon teasing that 3-second time gap. We'll keep an eye on the tower as the final laps kind of progress. Well, 1.2 is what Renovatio needs to find. Has found 8/10 through the first 2 sectors. If he finds a similar 4/10 as he has through the first 2 sectors, will be right there with the best lap time that Chronicle has. He's burning quite a bit of battery now, using that overtake to try and go for that fastest lap. And through the final corner, through Ravazza 2. burning that battery, hugging almost like a quality lap. The cross line goes to an 18.8. So time is indeed found. And what John Lemon needs is for Zhao to stretch his legs and get Ivory out of DRS permanently, because it keeps getting up to a tenth or so. It looks like Ivory was a little bit slow through Piratella there, but has made the time back on Aqua Minerale. So it seems like second half of the lap, Ivory Lightning has the edge on Zhao. You can see just about even Stevens through Variante Alta there, but just about holding. Is this going to be the lap where he finally falls out of DRS? Crossing the detection point now. I think he's outside of DRS. So that's what John Lemon needs. Now needs to push on ahead. Only 5 laps left to go in this race. And John Lemon on 2.9 seconds the margin to the car ahead of Ivory Lightning. I wouldn't expect, unless a mistake from Zhao, I don't expect that Ivory Lightning will quite have the pace to get back in the DRS zone of Zhao on this one. And now John Lemon just needs to press. It's sitting less than a tenth of a second is the margin between P3 and P4 for John Lemon at this stage. If he can really put in a fast lap, sorry, he can put the pressure on Ivory Lightning, maybe force another track limit, maybe another mistake, or just the quick lap will put him with a little bit of buffer. But it's sitting there literally hundredths of a second deciding the difference between these two places. And John Lemon has a good run through Piratella there. How does he handle Aqua Minerale? Seems to be a better run through Aqua Minerale for Ivory. Ivory seems to have a very good handle of the car through Aqua Minerale. Makes up time on Zhao, makes up time on John Lemon, and he's getting back close to that DRS range of Ivory once again, but it is a tough one. Chronicle into the pit lane one more time. We will see getting off those 7-lap-old softs. He's last car running. He's going to go a lap down, but he does have the opportunity to once again bolt on a fresh set of softs, charge up the battery, and go for another fastest lap of the race. Ivory did manage to get back inside that DRS to Zhao, and that is not going to... Oh, no, Ivory, though, early turn-in into Tamburello there. You can see I'm just kind of cut across the turn-in of the chicane, and now an extra 3 seconds of time penalties for Ivory Lightning, and John Lemon just might have what he needs in order to get a podium place here in Imola. Ivory Lightning needs to hustle. He's got 6 seconds to find now, needs to overtake Zhao, needs to make up at least another 3 seconds to John Lemon and hope that Zhao can hold the Lemon behind. Maybe we're seeing those medium tires start to die off for Zhao. It was looking like he was running away, but now Ivory really starting to close the gap. Half a second now as he has another incredible run through Aqua Minerale there. And Ivory Lightning just seems to nail Aqua Minerale and most of this last sector every time. And 4/10 is the margin now between Ivory and Zhao. That should be close enough to have a very, very good run at him down into Tamburello if he can maintain it through Ravazza. And it seems like Zhao has opened up the gap just a little bit in through the second Ravazza there. And now down the straight comes Ivory. Does he have the legs? The rear light's been flashing on that car for a very, very long time. And it's going to be tough. Not able to make the overtake there. Kane now starting to close into the gap of Oba Mendez. But Ivory still hanging on to that margin. Right on in there. 3.6 the margin back to John Lemon. Of course, Ivory carrying 6 seconds now worth of time penalties. And with only 3 laps left to go in this one, it is quite the order for Ivory Lightning to hold that podium position. May be some serious trouble, and John Lemon has driven a pretty good race so far. He needs to make sure that he doesn't pick up any time penalties himself. Don't know how many warnings he may be on, but it is possible he could be on some warnings. And it is a track where it is easy to make that small mistake, run wide, and pick up that track limits penalty. Zhao still eating slowly into the gap of space. Goes down 3.6 seconds the margin. Now, how much of that is the tire differential and how much of that is space goes just in bring it home mode, which with that kind of margin and only 2 laps left to go, we start the penultimate lap of the race. Ivory still within that DRS. We'll jump back to Kane, who is in the DRS of Oba Mendez. They do have A back marker of Chronicle ahead. Is Obamendez going to get the DRS off of that back marker? It does not appear to be so. Is Kane going to go for an overtake here, closing up with the DRS? Not by much, only a couple hundredths of time found with the DRS rear wing open. Obamendez did get DRS, so that rear wing did open up. A mistake, though, from Obamendez. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two, and it looks like they're going to be side by side, and Obamendez just right off the track, and I think a little bit of contact as he attempted to rejoin. But Kane is now through and up into 5th place. They're both carrying 3 seconds of time penalties, so they are indeed fighting on track for their position with just a lap and a half or so left to go in this race. Ivory has fallen back out of DRS range of Zhao, although he's just now going past Aqua Minerale and up to Variante Alta. We'll see if he can find some time in this one. But John Lemon now 2.9 seconds of margin. If he can get inside 3 seconds, he gives himself a bit of a buffer. And Obamendez still struggling today through Aqua Minerale. He just never really got that corner quite hooked up. And that is going to make it very difficult to overtake on this final lap of the race. Ivory, did he get inside that margin? No. He looked like he just ticked inside that 1 second for DRS, but he's not going to get there. Space goes 3.8 seconds ahead. John Lemon still teetering right at that 3 second margin. Obamendez and Kane coming out of Ravazza. We will keep an eye on them just in case there's any kind of last lap lunge, but no. Obamendez was outside the DRS when they crossed the detection point and will not have what he needs in order to make an overtake happen. So barring any kind of mistakes, this is the only battle on track within a second, and there are no more DRS zones, so that 1 second doesn't matter. However, Kane very slow through Tamburello. Obamendez really closing up the gap now through Villeneuve. Only 0.4 of a second, 0.3 of a second. Let's jump on board late on the brakes into Tosa. Tries to go around the outside. Can he get the exit? His toughest corner, Aqua Minerale, coming up in just a couple of corners. I don't know that Obamendez is going to quite have the legs. I think that last cover from Kane has managed to hold that position, but we are still very, very close. Up the hill, seems to be an okay release off of Aqua Minerale, but not quite close enough. We will grab the leader, though, as he crosses the race. The start-finish line, Space Ghost winning the Grand Prix, taking home P1. Zhao in for P2. Ivory Lightning crosses the line 3rd, but John Lemon, on virtue of those time penalties, takes a podium position away. Kane and Obamendez next to cross the line. Kane has held that position from Obamendez. Kane will take home a 5th place finish ahead of the Ferrari of Obamendez, who comes home 6th. Now, Renovatio has the fastest lap at the moment. Is he pushing for a final fast lap? It doesn't appear to be a particularly aggressive stance from him. Chronicle not able to take back the fastest lap with that late pit stop. Renovatio will come home 7th plus a fastest lap point, and that will be the end of your Saturday running. But Space Ghost, after having already clinched the championship, taking home yet another win to make it all but certain. Ivory Lightning with a tremendous drive through from P9 up to P4, a solid result for Ivory there. So nothing to scoff at. Granted, the time penalties took him out of that podium position. Was still a very good drive for Ivory. John Lemon as well coming home 3rd, but Zhao really making that backwards kind of strategy work. Those mediums doing quite the job at the end of the race to pick up a podium in 2nd place. Made the overtakes when he needed, held off Ivory Lightning for the entire final stint. So an incredible one from them. So cannot fault the drive from Zhao either. The top step of the podium goes to none other than McLaren and Space Ghost. A tremendous drive on that Drivers' Championship there. We will be back to action tomorrow. It will be a PlayStation Division 1 at 7 p.m. UTC. Or no. Yeah, 7 p.m. UTC. I can totally do math. As well as PC Division 3. So that will be on the FRS Motorsports and FRS community channels. And then we wrap up the penultimate round of races. Round 9 will be with PC Division 2. So thank you all for joining me once again. It's been a great season. It's nearly coming to a close. It's been a quick one. These 10 races have gone by in quite the flash with only the one break week in between them. but there is some scheduling conflicts with real life F1 coming just immediately the week after our final race of the season, because we do have real life F1 going to the Western Hemisphere swing, Mexico, Circuit of the Americas, and Brazil, which all create starting times that clash directly, qualifying and the race, with FRS timing. So we didn't want to have 3 weeks off and round up. So did create a bit of a hectic schedule, but we are going to soldier on, and we're nearly done, and then we'll enjoy the holidays. But thank you all for joining me once again. Enjoy and have a great night.